Hello. This week's Way to Be a Better Human is inspired by kindness. The world could use a little more kindness these days. Be kind to the employee taking your order. Be kind to the teacher of your child. Be kind to your spouse after a hard day's work. Be kind to yourself. I know individually we can all be kind to everyone, including ourselves. Be sure to stop and take a deep breath and choose kindness today. Remember, what you put into the universe, you receive from the universe. Why not put a little more kindness into it? Hello, boils and ghouls, and everyone creepy in between. This is another episode of the Average Ghost Mom podcast. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Another week gone by. You know, um, this did not drop how it was supposed to. I tell you what, this last week, crazy, crazy. I did not get a chance to pre-record this episode like I wanted to. So now I just get to record it late and post it late. Woohoo. Luckily, I'm still small enough. um, but no, it was a couple weekends back was really fun. Let me look at some dates here. Let me look at some. How far back ago was this? Because girl, we're already here in August and all. So this was that what this was? Yeah. So this was just a couple weekends ago. I ended up going to one of Josh's family reunions, and that was so fun. I would I would go as far to say as probably 9 out of 10 would recommend going to a significant other's family reunion, especially a significant other that you actually like. Um it's definitely a change of pace from what I've known for the past 6 years, what I've had for the past 6 or 7 years. So Josh has a fairly large family, kind of like I have a pretty large family. Um, his uh, his mom's got two siblings, and then from there, they've got a load of cousins because their mom, their parents' generation or branch of the tree all had multiple siblings, and everyone had multiple kids and them kids had multiple kids and you can understand it just gets pretty big from there. So this was his mom's, but like his mom's branch of the family. Um and I don't know any of them, and I left still not really knowing any of them. But but it's okay. It's okay. So it was his mom's mom, his maternal grandmother's side of the family. Um, it took place in a small town just south of Huntsville here, and in a church basement, which is pretty usual for the South. Things taking place at church basements seems pretty usual. And we were kind of told last minute about this, so I didn't have much time to plan. Because we were told to bring, like, the criteria was you can show up to the family reunion, but you got to bring two sides, and you got to bring either a side and a dessert, or two desserts, or two sides, whatever. And then you got to bring two gifts for bingo. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna make. But luckily, Josh's mom was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We're telling you pretty last minute." Um, and Aunt Christy's making a whole bunch of extra sides, which is like, whew. First of all, thank Lord, someone's covering my sides. Second of all, Aunt Christy's cooking extra food. Oh, we love Aunt Christy's cooking. I'm pretty sure I've said it before. I'll say it again. Aunt Christy can cook. I trust her cooking. If I had a blind taste test, I'm pretty sure I could tell which was Aunt Christy's. I can tell her mac and cheese, I bet you. I can tell her deviled eggs. I could tell, ooh, she's got this pecan squash casserole that she makes. Oh my goodness, I think it's pecan squash. Could just be fried onions, actually. I don't know. There is some baked crispy topping on it, and it's so good. And I almost could not believe that I didn't get any for myself. But so what the family who was hosting the family reunion, like the people who were hosting it, they smoked a couple butts and they made chicken tenders. So they provided the two like main meats, and they provided, I think they provided the plates and utensils and all that. Um and so there was, gosh, I gotta try and think back. There was the butt, which I didn't take any. I don't know. I've been kind of in a weird, not really favoring beef mood lately. Um, I don't know, I've really been, which it's not just because of my lean meat diet that I've been on over the summer. I'm just not really like I'll take chicken over a burger, you know? I might take a pork chop over a steak. Well, no, I take that one back. I'll always have a steak over anything, just about. I've definitely learned my lesson about that. I'll tell you all about that later, maybe, if I can remember. Well, I'll just tell it now, real quick. Tangent for a quick second. We went on a date to Connor's quite a few months back, and Connor's is a very fancy restaurant, right? You dress up for Connor's. And my favorite thing to get is the blue mignon. It's a blue filet mignon. I think it's a filet mignon. I can't remember the meat. Maybe it's whatever meat you want. Actually, it might be just a ribeye. Or I don't know. It's a piece of beef that is cooked to perfection. Okay, it's got a fantastic crust on the outside where it needs to have it, and it's nice, cooked exactly how you want on the inside. And it comes with a red wine reduction sauce and blue cheese on it. Oh my goodness. I had that the past 2 or 3 times that we went there. And then the very last time we went there, I said, let me try something different. This pork chop with a apple chutney sounds really good. It was good. It was good, but it was not my blue cheese and red wine reduction sauce over my piece of beef. It wasn't it. So I probably will not stray away from that, but I'm telling you, if you got a little bit of money to spend, go to Connor's. Get it. Oh Lord, it you will not be sorry. I can never finish all my food, and I always ask for an extra little container of red wine reduction sauce. My child will lick the ranch out of the container and will scoop it out with her finger regardless of how much food she has left. She likes to eat just plain ranch. I think it's the Nebraskan inside her. I will do the same to this red wine reduction sauce. Oh my goodness. Anyway, back on track. Okay. I've not been in a beef mood lately, so I didn't get any of the Boston butt. Actually, that's pork. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. A Boston butt is pork. I'm I'm very sure that there was a whole bunch of you yelling at me right there. I can I can feel it. I can feel the angry energy of Kristana. A Boston butt, a smoked butt, is not beef. Y'all, I'll take the L on that one. Yeah, I'll take the L on that one. That's pork. But either way, I was not in the mood for smoked meat. Okay. So I went for some chicken tenders. They're pretty good. Clearly, they were cooked earlier and they have been sitting in their hot pan, but they were still very good. Um, there was a couple different sides of baked beans. Aunt Christy brought some baked beans. Aunt Christy brought some coleslaw. Aunt Christy brought her squash casserole. There was some mashed potatoes I saw with some gravy. There was a large assortment of deviled eggs, and Aunt Christy brought some deviled eggs too. I think there was somewhere in the ballpark of like 6 dozen deviled eggs. And there had to have been, oh, he counted for bingo. He said there's about 50 people. He said, I think there's 49. Maybe I miscounted somebody. Maybe I double counted someone. So we're just going to round up. We're just going to say 50. So there's 50 people there. and somewhere in the ballpark of 6 dozen eggs. 6 dozen deviled eggs. And and I'm talking about individual eggs. I'm not talking a deviled egg is actually half of an egg. So there was 6 dozen done eggs, which means there was about 12 dozen deviled eggs. Okay, you feel me? So let's see, deviled eggs. There was some regular lettuce salad, and ooh, somebody brought this really nice, fancy kind of salad. So I think it was like a green leaf and arugula base, but they put rainbow cherry tomatoes. They put clementines or mandarin oranges, either way, teeny tiny little oranges. They put grapes. They put apples. They put blueberries. They put peach slices. Oh, y'all, the peaches in this time of the season, oh, they're so good. They're so nice and juicy and soft. They put peaches in this salad. They put blue cheese, I think, in this salad. And they put this nice, some sort of balsamic glazed dressing on the salad. Oh, it took me back. It took me to a fantastic place. I got seconds of a salad, which kind of sounds weird, but that salad, peaches? Yes. Somebody brought a little candy tray. Somebody brought like some yogurt and applesauce and like assorted individual chip things, and popcorn and marshmallows. And there was assorted fruit platter. And then on the dessert table, y'all, on this dessert table, I think the highlight of the dessert table would have to be this blueberry cobbler that one of the grandmothers made, because she used fresh homegrown blueberries out of her garden. And then she, Lord, y'all, I'm not really one for blueberry baked good. I'm more of a red fruit baked good kind of gal myself. I'm talking like cherries, strawberries, apples, raspberries, you know. I don't really stray away from the red fruits as much as I can because I can trust the red fruits, but this blueberry cobbler, I can't describe it. I am jealous that I don't know who made it. Therefore, I'm not good friends with this person. I can't just text her up and say, "Hey, Ava and I are gonna come over and say hi. Do you want to make a blueberry cobbler? Do you want to teach me how to make what we do?" Because it was all home done. She didn't get no box mix. She did everything herself. Ooh, and it came in that blue baking dish. Like that. What is it? It's like a 9 by 12, I think, maybe. No, that's not. No, that's not. Yeah, I think like a 9 by 12, more kind of shallowish blue baking dish. You know what I'm talking about. That's how you know. When they bring in that blue baking dish, and not that dang pioneer woman bull crap. I'm talking, this was her mother's, and it got passed down to her, and she's going to pass it down to her children, and it's just going to keep coming down the line. Ugh. Yes, that was the highlight of the dessert table. There was a couple different kinds of brownies. There was sugar cookies. There was chocolate chip cookies. There was gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. There was this, I think it was like a strawberry fluff pie, maybe. And it's not like it's like, how like a whipped cream pie, like the clowns or whatever you throw on someone's face is a whipped cream pie. This was like a kind of more like a no bake whipped cheesecake. And it wasn't cheesecake though, but like I think the stiffness comes from putting in like a no bake cheesecake powder, or like a jello powder. It was it was probably dyed red with whatever the jello was, I'd have to imagine. And I think there were strawberry chunks in it. It was really sweet. It was good. I could not eat more than a couple bites of it though, just because I don't really have that much of a sweet tooth. Um, what else? The sugar cookies were really good. Oh, okay, I said brownies. Oh, Aunt Christy made some no bake cookies, which she puts like, I think, like a Rice Krispie in like a chunk of chocolate and then puts it on, or some sort of like oats or whatnot, and it's too sweet for me. It's too sweet for me. I couldn't eat it, but that's just on me. That ain't on her. Aunt Christy makes the best food, so even if even if I never had it, I'd still give her a 10 out of 10. I just trust her. I think that was it. Maybe oh, Ava had something. Oh wait, no, those were all strawberries she was eating. I think that was about it. The desserts table was not nearly as long as the regular foods table, but that's fine because we don't really need all them sweets, you know what I'm saying? So, but it was good. It was good. And that's when I really took into account that Ava loves deviled eggs. Um, because she had like 4 or 5 deviled eggs on her own, which is about 2 to 2.5, 2 to 3 whole hard boiled eggs. Um, so that leads into another story that I'll tell you when I get done talking about this family reunion. So we know out of these 50 people, Josh, Ava, and I know our three. Nana and Pop Pop were there. I know them too. Christy and Tommy, her husband, were there. I know them too. And then I know of Aunt Sandy. And that's out of the 50 people, that's all who I know. So everyone else is a strange face. No one is coming up to introduce themselves to me, to talk to me or whatever. I think because we all have the mutual understanding that we don't normally talk outside of anything ever anywhere. I'm never going to meet you ever again except for maybe next year's family reunion or the next funeral. And there's really no point in me learning who you are because it's not going to matter outside these doors. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I was, I initially kind of walked in a little nervous because we got there and there was only maybe 10 people. People started rolling in after we got there because we kind of got there like we were one of the first people who got there. So I was initially a little uncomfortable because I don't like meeting new people. And that's just one of my character flaws that I've accepted. So I was like, gosh, I'm gonna have to like meet all these people and I'm gonna have to be talkative and I'm gonna have to be, a little more extroverted than what I want to be. And nobody came up to me. And it was fantastic. It was it was like eating in a restaurant is what it's comparable to. You walk in, you don't know any of these people, nobody cares about you. You're just here to eat, and that's it. Everyone today, that day, was there to eat, play bingo, go home happy, you know? Now, for most of these people, oh yeah, hi, aunt, uncle, grandma, whomever, oh, cousin from the Christmases we all went to, that I get. But nobody came up and was like, "Oh, who are you? I saw you came in with Josh." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm Josh's girlfriend, and this is my kid." And nope, no grandparents or old aunt and uncles did that, and that makes me so happy. There was, however, when we sat down, we got in there. I think about second or third people to come in. I met I met a distant cousin. She came and sat down with us and she was so nice. She was so sweet. She was so nice. She has a speech disability, so I will say it's kind of hard to understand her, especially because like this is my first time meeting her. So I'm not used to talking with her or hearing how she talks. So it was kind of hard really to talk more than just hi, my name is such and such. Oh, it's nice to meet you and that's basically it. But she sat with us, her and her dad, and they were very, very nice. They were very lovely. So now on to the bingo part, right? We're done eating. We're ready to start bingo, okay? And everybody bring 2 gifts. And they went down, they had like 5 tables of gifts, right? And they paired up gifts. So like we weren't going like I brought 4 things which could have intentionally have been made into 2 things, or you keep it as 4 things. The more the merrier. I didn't know what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a good time. They wanted to have a medium amount of time. They didn't want to go forever and do each individual one. Um, so they ended up pairing up a whole bunch of a whole bunch of things. So most of the time, everybody got two. If anybody won a round of bingo, they got two things, right? But it wasn't come up and pick your thing that you want. It was, okay, this round we're playing for this game or this toy, this prize. And next round we're playing for that prize, you know? So you didn't get to pick your prizes, but um Aunt Sandy won the first round and she got a chalk set and a stuffed axolotl, and she knew that Ava liked axolotls, so she came over and gave it to Ava. So Aunt Sandy won the first round, but really Ava won the first round. And then we go for quite a few more rounds. I look, by the end of this thing, we've probably been done playing bingo for an hour, I'd have to say. I did not win anything. Josh did not win anything. Ava, technically by rules, only won twice, but if you include Sandy giving her the axolotl, she won 3 times. And then there was specifically 2 people, a younger gentleman who won like 4 rounds, 4 or 5 rounds, and then one of the older ladies won like 5 or 6 rounds. And that is some crazy stuff to me. Um, we all got our bingo cards, and they're reusable ones, and Ava had a blast doing it. And that's also when we learned that she loves bingo. And she didn't know she loves bingo, but now she does know that she loves bingo, and so now she wants to play bingo all the time. So she won, let me see, she won some books. She won a My First Bible set, and she won a springtime 8 book series thing, like an age appropriate book series for her. And it's talked about like spring stuff. And then her second one, she won water balloons and a pack of playing cards, and they're peanuts. Like Charlie Brown, they're peanuts themed. Um, so she walked out of there with 5 things. That child, she was over the moon. Um, so it was fun. It was really fun. Um, Nana won some handmade. They're not they're not blankets. They're like mini quilts. So it's like they're just a little too for they're good for a preemie baby, you could say, if you needed to use them as blankets, but I think they're kind of more for like decorative use. That's how I'm using one of the smaller ones. There was like 2 small ones and like a little bit bigger one. They're good if you need them like baby doll blankets, that's the size. But they're like autumn themed, and one of them has some more Halloweeny prints. So she goes, right now, these need to go home with you. And I said, me? She said, yeah. So now I have some Henry family hand quilted, nope, hand stitched, maybe not hand stitched, but homemade mini quilts, blanket squares. I don't know what to call them, but you kind of get the gist. It's like I think I have 2 foot by 2 foot ones, and then I think I have a 2 foot by 3 foot one, maybe, or maybe it's a 1 foot by one. No, maybe it's a 1.5 by 1.5. I don't know, but I got some homemade quilt stuff that's been quilted, and it's nicely themed with my house, and it looks good where I have one of them. I don't quite know what to do with the other 2, but I will figure it out. I'll figure it out. Maybe I just can't use them right now, but at our next house, maybe I'll probably find something for them there. Ooh, maybe. No, 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 no. Well, anyway. Um, so yeah, so she gave me those. And that was awesome. So now I have a piece of family, you know? Um, and after that, I mean, we went home. We went home and we chilled out for, oh, hold on. Let me back up. So bingo's done. Everyone's cleaning up their stuff, packing up the food, getting the heck out of there, right? Well, Ava's like, I need more deviled eggs. And I'm like, we don't have anything to take them home and we didn't bring any to go containers. And I said, you know what? Hold on. And I go up to Aunt Christy. I say, "Hey, Aunt Christy." She goes, "Hey." I said, "I know where you live. You know where I live. Is it okay if I take your deviled eggs home because you have 1.5 dozen left because there was 6 dozen brought?" And she said, "Well, sure." So I left with 1.5 dozen deviled eggs, and Ava ate them in 4 days. So that segues me to the following weekend. Um, so Ava ate 1.5 dozen deviled eggs in 4 days, right? So it's the following Tuesday, and she sees that we're almost done with them. She goes, "Mom, we're almost out of deviled eggs." And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, we have to save these for when Lindley gets here this next weekend." I said, "No, I'm not saving 4 deviled eggs for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. I'm not saving these deviled eggs for 4 days, okay? We're not going to feed Lindley week old deviled eggs, okay? I can just make more deviled eggs." And she goes, "Oh, Mom, you know how to make deviled eggs?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, Mommy, you need to make Lindley and I a ton of deviled eggs for this weekend." And I'm like, "Oh, shit." Because it's not that deviled eggs is hard. It's just it can be a process. Because if you don't put the right amount of mayo and mustard, just a little bit throws off the whole taste. I feel like unless you've got it down to a science, you know this many deviled eggs is this much mayo and mayonnaise and these seasonings and the pickles, yada yada. If you don't got it down to a science, it is super easy to mess up deviled eggs. Okay? It's not that I didn't want to make it for my child. Of course. Of course I'd make you deviled eggs. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I'm making deviled eggs for somebody who's never had my cooking. Okay? And like I said, if you put just a little bit too much mayo, a little bit too much mustard, not enough seasoning, it's going to turn out horrible. And I know. Oh, well, you always start with a little bit and you can always add more. Yeah, but sometimes in the past, even just what I'm starting out, what I think is a little bit, is too much compared to the amount of yolks that I have. But I'll get there. So I said, shit. Well, let me even ask Lindley's mom if they even like deviled eggs because maybe they aren't a fan of deviled eggs. Josh doesn't like deviled eggs. He doesn't like hard-boiled eggs. Maybe they're not a fan, and if they're not a fan, I am not making deviled eggs for this weekend. Like that's to say so. So I text Lindley's mom, and she says, "Oh yeah, of course, we love deviled eggs." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yay, fuck, okay, great. Well, I guess we're having deviled eggs with lunch on Saturday. Yay." So I made deviled eggs for lunch on Saturday, and they turned out actually pretty good. I did not mess them up. I was very surprised. Very surprised. So they turned out good. Pat on my back. But it was fun. Um, but anyway, she went over to Grandma Linda's house because on Wednesday she did because Friday I had a meeting at the school and it was no kids allowed and I did not have anybody to watch Ava because everybody is out of state, everybody is working, and that's just, I mean, that's just the reality of it. So thank Lord I have enough of a safety net of people here that I can have help with. I've got a good village up here, and I am just so thankful for them. So we so what was it? Oh, I think Linda came all the way over here. I met her. I don't. Oh no, Tuesday night we went to dinner with Nat Nat to Chinese Because of course that child ain't gonna say no to Chinese. That's her favorite cuisine. She loves Chinese. She prefers hibachi, the quote unquote the one where they cook in front of you. So she's been asking a few times about that. We'll probably try and find some time to take her out to hibachi this month. So she's been asking so much, but took her out to Chinese because she loves shrimp and noodles. That's all she wants. That's all she gets from Panda. That's all she gets from Firewalk. Okay, shrimp and noodles. So that's what we did. Shrimp and noodles. And thank Lord, buffet. We go to Buffet 88 up here in Huntsville. Um, that's probably got to be like one of the better. Is okay. It's hit and miss because sometimes you get some of the food when it's old because it's a buffet. Buffets are always going to be hit or miss. It just depends on when you get there. Also, if you get there during a busy time, then they're going to be pushing out more food. So you're going to get more fresh food. But if you go during a slow time, then they're not cooking all the food quite as much, and so you might get some older food, and that might cause your tummy to be a little upset. So you just gotta realize and understand what you're going into when you go to basically any buffet, okay? But Buffet 88's one of the better ones. So yeah, we have a nice array of shrimp. Um, she about they have whole shrimp that they boil, and they bread it on the outside, which that's kind of weird to me, but that's not my cooking. It's their cooking. And she about ate the whole thing. She about put the whole thing in her mouth, and luckily Natalie stopped her. She's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. You have to take the shell off. And Ava's like, a shell? Like, what are you talking about? And I just shelled it, and she goes, whoa. And I'm like, yeah. But I think I got her hooked on that sweet coconut shrimp that they got. Oh my gosh, I love their sweet coconut shrimp. It's one of my favorites to get over there. But she went home with Nat Nat Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Grandma Linda came and picked her up and whatnot. And she played at the twins' house, had a sleepover. It was fun. And then Friday had the meeting, and Friday after the meeting, Linda drove all the way. Linda was nice enough; she drove all the way over to my house from her house. She lives far out. She lives far out. I'm talking. I think it took maybe probably an hour and a half for her to get to my house. And she's like, "It's okay. I'll just come drop her off so we don't have to deal with traffic. I'll come drop her off when it's not very trafficy, and I can get home when it's not very trafficy, and you don't have to deal with the traffic later." And I'm like, "Grandma Linda, you're so sweet. Thank you." So Grandma Linda's always there. She's awesome. Um, yeah, she went with Grandma Linda for the week, which was nice because it kind of gave me a little bit of a break from having her. Because you go from not having her to boom having her all day, every day, right there, and it's only so exhausting because I'm also working, so I'm having to use my brain to tackle work issues and problems and do just regular work, and also having to be a mom. And for those who get it and know and understand and agree, being a mom is a full time job. And then also trying to actually work your legitimate full time job, it's very exhausting. It's on one hand, oh, it's probably so great. You get to work from home and she just stays at home. And it's like, yeah, but I don't want her playing on her tablet 24/7. I have to help her with workbooks or like help her find a game, or say go play up with Barbies a little bit or go outside, and I have to make lunch and get all the snacks. And she's not 100% reliant on me, but she's still probably like 75-80% reliant on me. So, excuse me. Yeah, it was exhausting before school started, but school has started since then. Everything is good. But anyways, let's get to the weekend with Lindley. That was so much fun. Oh gosh, I feel so bad. I feel bad, but not too bad. But because Ava and Lindley were made friends with each other in kindergarten, and they were each other's only friend in kindergarten. And on one hand, it's just kindergarten. They'll make new friends as they get older. It's kindergarten could be where lifelong friends are made, but it's not a big deal if they break up a friendship. Whereas, like in high school, when somebody moves and they've been friends for the whole time, that's a little bit more emotionally detrimental. So, but also at the same time, that's their only friend. Like Lindley and Ava only have each other. They're both single children. They're both in houses of split. Um, Lindley's mom happens to just be a single mom and lives by herself. Lindley's dad really isn't in the picture, whereas Ava has two households to bounce, but back and forth between, um, and siblings at the other household. So, but Ava still can relate to Lindley in the single child factor, because for the most part, for the majority, Ava is a single child. So, so they get along. They're each other's first friend, and Lindley's mom and I are just doing our best to foster that for each other. And if if there's the fortunality that they just become long-term best friends, that's awesome. And if something happens and the friendship can't, doesn't get to stay, then I think she's on the same terms of whatever happens is going to happen. And now that they don't go to the same school, it kind of makes it harder, but we can always put in the effort. If Lindley ends up making a new friend and wants to spend all her time with a new friend on the weekends, that's fine. That's not going to hurt, you know. That's not going to hurt my feelings. And I think if we don't necessarily say anything to Ava like, "Oh, she's not your friend anymore," if you don't quite acknowledge it like that because she's so young, and avert her attention to different people, because there's already some kids that I could put out there on the parenting website for Ava's current school, like, "Hey, I'm such and such, my daughter is such and such, we're in this class, and we want to have a play date, and looking for anyone who has availability, who has time, and we can either meet we can go here, go to your place, go to my place, I can have lunch, yada yada." Like, there's ways that I can help her make friends, um but this weekend was so fun. So I asked Ava before, I was like, "Okay, so what do you want to have for lunch?" And she goes, "Chicken nuggets and strawberries." And I'm like, "Okay, we have to have more than just chicken nuggets and strawberries because we're feeding two adults and two children." She goes, "Chicken nuggets and strawberries and applesauce." And I'm like, okay, how about we take, all right, let's run with this chicken thing, okay? How about chicken sandwich? Oh, she said bacon, chicken, and strawberries. That's what she said, not the applesauce. That's my bad. I was misremembering. She wanted bacon, chicken, and strawberries. And I said, "Okay, let's run with this bacon and chicken. How about we do sandwiches? I can do bacon chicken sandwiches." And she goes, "Oh, yes." So I'm like, "Okay. Get some grilled chicken, get some bacon, get some sandwich toppers. We'll be good." She wants strawberries. I can do strawberries. And now we're doing deviled eggs, and I'll just throw in some fries, just kind of like a filler. So that way she doesn't think I'm a complete health freak or whatever, Because I'm not. I just choose to eat better. Not saying that fries aren't better, because I air fry my fries. So I'm not deep frying them. So whatever. And then on the day of, I was like, "Well, I've got this salad too. I gotta get the salad used up." I like to get the pre-made salad kits. So I just opened up one of those, mix it up, and boom, there we go. We had salad in case she wanted salad and not fruit, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I just make food and put it out with whatever food we're eating because it's got to get eaten up, and I don't have any plans to use it any other time, so I might as well use it now, you know? But Lindley's mom and we caught up. We sat there. She's got some stuff going on with her life right now. Not quite directly related to her, but she's got some family stuff going on. It's pretty serious. Um, I've got things going on my end. So it's just been a crazy thing. And Ava decided she wanted to spend her birthday money and get some crafts for her and Lindley to do. So we went to earlier, I think, oh, last weekend, because Nana came with us. We went over to Michael's, and Michael's was having good, had some good clearance crafts. And I was able to find two of everything. So she found some stepping stones, some butterfly and pattern printed shaped stepping stones, and it comes with paint, and so you paint the stepping stone. That was cool. They did that. Um and oh, she found a color by number book. So, like, technically they each got a page, but they didn't finish them. They wanted to go play with Barbies, and that's understandable. But Ava also found some wind chimes to make. So there's a cat wind chime and a rain clown wind chime. Then there's a whole bunch of like wood ornaments. There was like a fairy and a mermaid, and there was, I think, animals, and then there was like fast food. And it's just the wood cutouts, and you just paint them. They're called wood ornaments, apparently. And then, oh, what was the last thing? Oh, and then there's some like foam ornaments. So like you stack foam pieces on top of each other and you make, this one was specifically some animals. So she bought all that with her birthday money for her and Lindley to do, and they only did the stepping stone really. But it's fine because then we can save the rest of these crafts for other play dates, you know? And they had just so much fun. They when they got there, I cooked lunch and we sat down and ate lunch, and then they did the painting thing, and then they went outside, I think, for a little bit on trampoline maybe, I don't quite remember, and they went upstairs and played with the toys. And it's always it's always fun coming over to someone's house to get to play with their toys because it's not your toys and so it's all new. B, it's much more fun to have someone come over and play with you and your toys instead of having to play with all of your toys by yourself. So they had a lot of fun, and then they had to get going. They had a baby shower to go to. So, which that's always nice too, because then it's like, okay, we have a solid time. We have a solid end time to the play date. So we're not just sitting here, twiddling our thumbs. Oh, like, is now okay to leave? Or should I ask? Or would she think it's rude? Or should I just stay for dinner? Should I just get dinner? Is she going to make dinner? What, there's not the question and the, well, when is it appropriate to leave? It's like, nope, we have a thing to do. So we will stay here until this time. And then we have to leave to go do another thing. Like, it's a very nice, well defined line of time. Um, so, yes, it was very, very fun, very happy. Oh gosh, we got to drink some wine and just have mom chat, and it was so fun. And um, you know what? Let me ask y'all a question because I'm pretty sure I've got some pretty good. I think I have some good people out there with some good opinions about this. And I'm truly interested to hear what you guys have to say and have to think. Like, this is a genuine question, and for anybody who's listening, even if it's a amount of time afterwards, still write in. Please email me or message me on Instagram or message me on TikTok. Please, honest to God. So one of the things that her and I were talking about, she brought up about, well, when is it appropriate to have like sex ed talk? Because the girls are only in first grade. And one thing that I had always kind of had in my beliefs of parenting was that sex ed talk can start as young as kindergarten. Not in the way that you're thinking, though. Okay? The bare minimum of sex ed talk is just saying, hey, you're a girl and he's a boy. Okay? We have boundaries, and there are 2 spots on a girl. Well, 3, I guess. 3 spots on a girl where people are not supposed to touch. Ever. Period. All right? Only mommy and daddy or a doctor for medical reasons, really. Okay? If you're hurt and we need to look there. Like on a girl, you like, don't touch, people are not supposed to just come up and touch your chest. And then you've got like your downstairs, we call it the front butt, and then your back butt. People are not supposed to touch your front butt. People are not supposed to touch your back butt. Okay? And people are not supposed to just be touching on your chest. Accidents happen if you're walking and people are swinging their arms and they hit you accidentally. That's a different thing. But if someone is coming up and intentionally crossing that boundary and touching your no-no areas, that's an issue, especially if it's an adult. Okay? And like on a boy, there's 2 areas, the front butt and the back butt are not supposed to be touched. So that alone, that is bare minimum of sex ed. And that is something I have always had my opinion about, of that can be taught as young as kindergarten and first grade, because what if there's a kid and who's not in a great household and he sees what mommy and daddy do, and he watches some inappropriately aged movies and he sees what the mommy and daddy do on that, you know do not be bringing that to the school. You know what I'm saying? You need to be teaching your kids so we can defend, especially being a mother of a daughter. I can at least teach her boundaries, and that is bare minimum sex ed at its lowest, most minimalized point, right? And then from there, in the moment, I was kind of thinking, I think probably the next time I would take the next step of like some more like legitimate sit down serious sex ed talk is probably when she starts her period, you know? Because at minimum, telling her what's going on. Because there's studies that show that girls are getting their periods earlier and earlier. I think I got mine, I think when I was like 13. My mom's probably going to listen to this later and text me and be like, "No, you got it when you were such and such age." I kind of just generally say and think and have myself convinced I was about 13 when mine started. Maybe I was 12. I don't know. But like Lindley's mom, she had hers very, very early. I'm talking, I think she said like 10. And that, first of all, a imagine, imagine a 10-year-old. Let me think. Ava's going to be 7 as a kindergartner, 8 as a second grader, 9 as a third grader, and 10 as a fourth grader. Okay? Imagine a fourth grader who doesn't know what's going on, and suddenly they have like a feminine accident, and it's like that. As a fourth grader, I could not imagine because I got mine when I was in sixth grade, right? So how old you are when you're in sixth grade? And I was mortified then. I couldn't even imagine, you know. And of all things, you're bleeding, it's blood, and that you're gonna freak out because like, oh, well, where did I cut myself? How did this happen? You don't understand. So I think her and I kind of both agreed and decided that if the girls get their periods very early, like extremely early, that we would probably just explain what's happening with their body. Like this is like the next kind of step of sex ed is like, okay, well, now your body is physically taking the next step. Let's talk about it, because she had brought up if you educate children too much, too young, then they think they know better and they go out and they do stupid shit, right? So, my school had a sex ed night that my parents did not let me go to that took place in the fifth grade. And it went through everything. They split up the boys and the girls and they split up the kids from the parents. So the boys all went to one classroom, girls all went to another classroom, and the parents all stayed in the gym. And as they were actively teaching the kids, they told the parents what they're going over. And I know there was a handful of parents that were like, if I would have known you would have been this extensive, I would have not brought my kid because this is something that we should go over in our house, and I don't want you teaching my kid about sex ed. I want to teach my kid about that stuff so I can control what they do and don't know. And so if you tell a fifth grader this is the ins and outs of sex and reproduction and the whole shindig, then they're going to think they know what they're doing. And then, like, by seventh grade, they might go out and be stupid shitheads and go try and have sex. And that's how you end up with premature kids because, well, I can't ask my parents for condoms. I can't go buy condoms. I don't know anyone old enough. Well, we'll just wing it. Oh, the pull-out method. It's fine. No, the pull-out method doesn't always work, right? So she had brought that up, and that was something I never thought of was, oh, if you overeducate her too young, then she might think she knows what she's doing and go out and try and be an adult. So it's taking into account their age, their mental development, and gauging how far into sex ed do we teach them at what age. I mean, I definitely agree depending on what her school does at the time of whatever school she's in when she's in it kind of thing, we'll cross that bridge then, but I definitely agree if when she gets her period the next step would be telling her what's going on with her body. And then when she's old enough, and I especially think when not society, but her peers, when her peers start talking about sex, like her friends, like, oh yeah, I lost my V card, haha, you know? Yeah, me and Dylan, we finally did it last night. And they're like freshmen in high school. Like, I think that's what happened. I think that's how my experience was. I was either a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And the group of girls who I thought were my friends, they were talking about how they had quote unquote lost their V cards. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought like they literally lost like a Visa card, like a debit card. And I was like, "Oh my gosh. Well, did you like close did you like stop the bank account? Did you tell your parents?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, what am I talking about? What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Our virginity." And I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, it was we have to try and be open with our children about things because I know from my personal perspective, if you only tell your child forever, do this, do that because I said so, or do this, do that, you'll understand when you're older. If you shut them out at a young age and you don't try to give them at least an age appropriate answer or response as to why you are deciding or making the decision or saying something, they are going to close off communication when they're older because they don't know how to communicate. They were not shown proper communication skills towards them about adults' reasonings for things that they don't know how to communicate back to you as young adults, as learning how to be an adult, you know? So they just don't do it at all. You know, is a possibility. I'm not saying every kid's going to do it, but it's definitely a possibility, you know? If they can't observe proper communication, then they're just not going to do it at all, you know? It's the same with if a child is never shown how to cook or is never in the kitchen around cooking, they're not going to know how to cook. Especially if they like never watch videos about it or anything, if they're just not if cooking is just not a part of their life at all. When they get out in the real world, bro, they're gonna call you when they make some microwave single cup mac and cheese saying, "Oh my god, guess what? I learned how to cook mac and cheese in a cup today in the microwave." You know? That's how one of my ex-boyfriends was. He cooking was not in his life whatsoever. And I remember I was at his house one time and I was like I'm hungry and he's like, um, I don't know. You know, like my mom's not here. And I'm like, "Well, can you just go look?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really know where, which cabinets have all the food and stuff." And I'm like, "Can you just go look?" Like oatmeal. I'll take a packet of oatmeal, you know? And he found a single cup of microwave mac and cheese and he goes, "Look, I made this for you." And it was terrible. It was I don't know what he did or what he didn't do, but I took a bite and I said, "I'm not hungry anymore, but thank you." I remember one time he made pancakes for the first time and he was so excited. And of course, at the time, I was a people pleaser. I could not let the light in his eyes die by telling him that his pancakes were not cooked all the way through. Like, uh, pancakes are pretty easy. I mean, I understand they could be easy to mess up, overcook, undercook, but I don't know. I feel like, let's see, I think it was like, what, like 18, 19-year old, you should probably know how to make pancakes. That's all. Anyway, well, that took a weird turn. Well, no, not quite a weird turn, but just like a very, maternal turn, from an older woman to a younger woman kind of turn, you know? But I am genuinely curious to hear your thoughts and opinions about this. Please, please, please. If you're on YouTube, if YouTube will let you comment what you want to say, you can. But like I said, if not, send me an email. Like, what is your opinion about teaching sex ed to children? When do you think it should be done? How far? What are the steps? And especially from like a boy's point of view because I'm a woman. I grew up with a sister. I have a daughter. So like uh male puberty, you know, Look, my best friend, one of my lifelong best friends, we've been friends, let's see, how old am I? I'm 27. We've been friends for like 25 years. Ew, have we been friends for 20? We've been friends for like 24, 25 years. That's crazy. He is 4 days younger than I am, right? So we are BFFs for life. I remember staying up one night, sneaking my cell phone into my room in high school because in my house the rule was your cell phone like stays out in the living room. And I remember like texting him sometimes or like we'd call and like cuz he was never taught the female, you know, he was never taught female puberty. He's a boy. Why would he need to know about female puberty? And I was never taught male puberty. And like literally, him and I would just ask some questions. I'd be like, "So this is what I'm experiencing. What are you experiencing?" And he'd be like, I am not experiencing that. Mostly because I don't have ovaries, but I am experiencing this stuff, you know." And I'd be like, right. Well, I don't have an Adam's apple, and I don't have the facial hair that you're going to have. That is still true today. I do not have any crazy facial hair. Thank Lord. I could not. But no, he was like my go-to for we kind of made a pact where we're like, like you're just a boy trying to make it. I'm just a girl trying to make it. We're best friends. Can we just have like a no boundaries rule where like if we have just some off the wall whack crazy uncomfortable question, like can I just count on you to be non-judgmental? And he was like, yeah, yeah. So yeah, he I tell you what, we made that rule that one day and it has kept the whole time. Him and I talk about some crazy things where it's like, should a boy and a girl who are not related actually be talking about these things? I don't know. But we are. It doesn't matter because he's my best friend. He's like legitimately one of my best friends. I think like I think the only line that we haven't crossed is he hasn't seen my boobs or my butt. Like he's never seen me fully naked before. But like he's seen me in a bra and not like in any weird way, like just like video chatting and I'm in my room getting dressed or something and I just walk by the camera or whatever. You know? And I think I've seen him all the way down to his boxers. Pretty sure. Oh yeah, I have. Because he's got a skin condition. Oh yeah. He's got a skin condition. I have a skin condition and we've shown each other, our skin conditioned areas of appropriateness, you know? Yeah. Gosh. He's such a great friend. Anyway, let me let me tie this all together. We had a fantastic time at the family reunion. I cannot wait to go to it next year. Um, we did end up purchasing a bingo set for Ava. I'll talk about that at a different time. We had a fantastic play date with Lindley, and honest to God, people, I'm curious. Like, is my thinking wrong? Is there something that I'm not thinking about? Is there a perspective I need to consider? We've got time. She's only a first grader. She's hopefully not going to start her period anytime soon, at least not for the next like 3 years. Fingers crossed. So, what am I not thinking about with this whole sex ed perspective that I need to be considering? Like, let me know. What did you guys do with your children, if you did anything at all? Actually, if you didn't teach your kids sex ed, I don't care to hear from you. Unless you're my mother. Oop, did I just call her out? I don't know. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.